Behind the scenes of slowing down. This prospect of slowing down can be counterintuitive when we have been indoctrinated into the cult of action. In fact, it may feel as if we are divorcing from everything we have ever been taught and heading towards certain failure. Still, if it is necessary to create our best work and our best selves, it is something worth trying. To help battle the gremlin who says, "Don't you dare slow down," it is good to take a look at what healthy slowing down looks like. Let's go back to kimchi. Say you've made a batch of kimchi and are now waiting for it to be ready to serve at dinner. We say it is fermenting, but what does that actually mean? The specific process is lactofermentation, where lactic acid bacteria break down the carbohydrates in the vegetables into lactic acid and carbon dioxide. Sounds a bit like rotting vegetables, doesn't it? The Noma Guide to Fermentation describes rotting and fermentation to be as different as an unsavory dive versus a happening light club. Rotting is a club where everyone gets in, bacteria and fungi, safe or unsafe, flavor-enhancing or destructive. Whereas in fermentation, you're taking on the role of a bouncer, keeping out unwanted microbes and letting in the ones that are going to make the party pop. The bouncer for making kimchi is the salt water that the vegetables sit in overnight. The salt breaks through the walls of the harmful pathogens like salmonella, and the submersion kills the oxygen-loving pathogens that create mold. The lactic acid bacteria start to feast on the vegetables, releasing acid to lower the pH and keep other pathogens like botulism from growing. The party keeps going until all the carbohydrates are gone and the kimchi turns to vinegar. The whole point is to preserve the vegetables and make the kimchi safe to eat and easier for the body to absorb. From the outside, it can look like nothing is going on while the kimchi is pausing. The fact is, though, there is much going on at a level that is generally not seen. The process must be trusted to achieve the outcome of kimchi. What could happen if we slow down and trust the process? Slowing down can allow us to reflect. And if we trust the process in those moments, we are setting ourselves up for making higher quality decisions. Research has shown we not only know the quality of our decisions, but the rested mind is able to handle problems more creatively and solve more complex problems. It turns out in the reflective periods, the brain moves to an internal processing mode that is suppressed when we are externally focused. Regularly exercising the internal focused mode increases reading comprehension and divergent thinking. If we take this further, like becoming an expert, there is other research that shows the elite among us actually spend less time practicing than average. After about 10 years of deliberate effort, there is a shift that allows those becoming elite to have more focus when they are on. To do so, they require having off times that allow for recovery. Take a cellist. The goal of the beginner is to get to know the instrument and work on getting the notes correct. As one advances, time with the cello is about learning how the practice can be more efficient, so you can maximize the time spent. For the elite, the practice is about the interpretation of the music. The elites already know the mechanics and the process that works best for them. They are now working that process. The time off the instrument is about researching the score, understanding the composer's intent, investigating how others have performed the piece, and planning how this performance will be authentic to the cellist. In 2016, Yo-Yo Ma spoke to a group at the New England Conservatory of Music about his practice. Once he has the concept of how he wants to perform the music, he goes to the cello to try it. He then reflects on how it went. Whenever I don't feel at ease, I can tell. Let's try and make it secure so the mind is free to make choices at the time they're performing. You're free to respond to anything that comes your way so that you can actually have a conversation with the orchestra and the conductor. It's freedom in the mind, so you can physically do whatever you need to do. I think that's really why we practice. We need to give ourselves moments and experiences that will allow us to perform well when we are called upon. We readily expect a recovery period for professionals so they will perform better at a concert or on game day. We often don't grant the same idea to ourselves when we prepare and face our own mental performance days. What if we did approach our lives that way? What if we looked at what we did today as if it was in preparation for a big game? Would we want to follow a regimen that included moments of intentional reflection to recover and assess how things were progressing?